Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode, the March 1987 Ford Granada. Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight. Now if you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond those years as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back at cars gone by, all about those memories and the memories these cars bring back, then please do consider subscribing. Subscribing is completely free. Anyway, back to today's episode. We've been looking at this March 1987 all-range brochure for Ford. We're getting to the end of this particular series because we're up to the Ford Granada. So here is that brochure we'll be looking at. So cars 1987, full range for Ford at the time. We also in this series had a look at the month earlier, so February 1987, because that showed the last Capris. It showed the pre-facelifted Sierra, so they are all in this series. But we are now up to Granada. Known everywhere else as the Scorpio by this stage, but UK and Ireland decided to keep the Granada name a little bit longer. Glad they did. A lot of history in that Granada name, and I do think it quite suited the Granada name in this case as well. The UK and Ireland did use the Scorpio name in some ways with this particular generation by denoting the high-spec models for the Granada. I always kind of think it goes back to when we first started looking at Granadas, when there was a console in a Granada. You kind of like the lower spec just called Granada, and then the higher spec now called Scorpio. And in fact, this brochure does treat those two models as a completely separate motor car, or of course they are the same thing. But we're going to do what the brochure does. We're going to look at the Granadas this week. Next week we'll look at the high spec Granadas, the Scorpios. Like I said, it's a bit confusing for everywhere else other than UK and Ireland, where we just, it was just called Scorpio. A bit more confusing in the UK in some ways. But anyway, it is quite a large range as Ford cars used to be in this at this time, so we should jump right in there. And the range starting with the Granada L. Telling us windscreen rapid DIs available at extra cost, electrically controlled ABS, standard. Nice to see that standard at this time. The sleek, spacious and versatile Granada has won more awards than any other car in Ford's history. The well-equipped Granada L rides on fully independent suspension and has one of the world's most advanced ABS systems as standard. Engine choices for the base model are a 1.8, 2 litre petrol or a 2.5 litre diesel. Certainly the 1.8 seems a little bit small for this size of car, but 5-speed gearbox standard on all power units, 4-speed auto optional for the 2 litre. High security locks for passenger doors, tailgate, fuel filler cap and steering. Remote control door mirrors. Halogen headlights with integral driving lights, wipers with intermittent settings for drizzle and fog, colour keyed velour carpet in passenger compartments, courtesy lights operated by all 4 doors, plus load compartment light. Newport cloth trim front seats with padded fully adjustable head restraints, rear seat back with 60/40 split fold convenience, steering column adjustable for rake and reach, and we've got a self-seek FM cassette, audio system with 6 speakers, joystick balance control and radio aerial incorporated in rear windows heating element. And if we just move the camera down, tells us the 1.8 a Group 5, 2 litre Group 6, 2.5D a Group 5 also. And little notes there saying a smooth nose with powerful flush fitting headlights is a key to the sleek Granada L's aerodynamic efficiency. The wide opening front doors have mirrors operated by remote control. So overall the L model of the Granada wasn't too badly equipped really. And when we get to the prices, we'll certainly see it was quite a tempting buy, really, in many ways. Interior, just a typical Ford, low model Ford at this time, just a sea of grey, nothing too exciting, of course. Peek into the dashboard though does reveal we don't even get a rev counter in this sort of executive class, would we call it at the time. We just get a clock in its place, so that's a little bit disappointing. And here is your executive with the car and those nice opening doors. Number plate on there. At this stage, don't even bother, I'm sure it's a made up plate and doesn't even look quite right, does it? And then if we move down, we can see how this base model would have been badged if it was the 2 litre, so Granada 2 litre L. I think that was probably the model to get if you got the base model. And then a sort of bird's eye view of this base model. We can see it is a base model. It's got wheel trims on there. No sunroof either on there. But we've got things like rear wash wipe. Overall, I don't think it was bad for the money, actually, for the size of car. Anyway, let's move on up the range. And really, moving up the range in terms of Granada was quite a jump, going from an L to a GL. Certainly, I always thought GLs was kind of the start of the more luxurious models. Let's look at the text though. So Granada GL. The Granada GL's attractions include a choice of 4 engines, from the 1.8 litre to the new 2.4 litre V6. Tested by Ford engineers, a V6 engine GL with a 5-speed gearbox did 0 to 60 in 9.3 seconds, powered it on to reach 121. Not too bad. So we've now got a sunroof standard. We've also got central locking standard, and if you think back to the L not having central locking, that's a big car, isn't it, not to have central locking in it. We got windscreen rapid de-ice, available at extra cost, and if I just move the camera down, it's also talking about the ABS being standard. So key features are 1.8, 2 litre, 2 litre EFI and 2.4 litre V6 engines, all with that 5-speed gearbox. So that 2.4 litre V6 GL would have been an interesting model to have at the time, although I don't know too much about that 2.4 litre V6, how good it was. Other features are bumpers and wide body side mouldings with bright inserts, central locking with torch key, tailgate wash wipe, conveniently linked to the reverse gear, windscreen wipers with variable intermittent settings for drizzle and fog, driver's seat with height adjustment. We got a central armrest for split folding back seat, tilt or slide screen glass sunroof, vanity mirror on the passenger sun visor, carpeted rear package tray, and we also get that FM stereo with 6 speakers. So if you liked your equipment, then maybe this is where your range started. It was certainly a big jump up from the L. We can see Group 5 for the 1.8, and then the 2 litre, 2 litre I and 2.4 I all being Group 6 insurance. Showing us that tilt slide sunroof here. And the main image is this, very unusual colour for a Granada at this time. We have got things like, still got a, wheel trims on there, but I guess we would possibly expect that. But we have got such niceties as a pleasant tilt slide sunroof now. It's not a lot, but I think the standout features are that sunroof and that central locking and the availability of having a 2.4 litre V6 now, and that much nicer interior certainly meant the GL version was a big jump up for the Granada, but we can go further, of course. And once again, a big jump up, isn't it? When you think about the other Fords in the range, there was a lot more sort of like fill-in models, when you think about things like the LX and the GLSs. We're going straight from a GL to a Gear here. But that has a lot to do just how they treated the Granada, really, because remember, after these models, there's the Scorpios, so there is lots of models in reality, but they seem like they've got bigger gaps in between. Maybe that's just a bit of an illusion in how they sort of treated the trim levels. So we jump straight up to a Gear and a Gear 4x4, certainly a Gear 4x4. The top of the range Granada, before we move to the Scorpios, was a pretty nice model. Let's look at the text, we'll come back to the images then. So the Granada Gear. The Granada Gear is available with Ford's advanced and widely acclaimed 4-wheel drive system, and immediately jumps up to the Granada Gear 4x4. Of course, we get a nice gear badge, you know, to show off to your neighbours. You got a sunroof standard, central locking of course was standard. Windscreen rapid de-ice, still available at extra cost. But we can get things now like air conditioning at extra cost, and of course that ABS was standard. It tells us for the Granada Gear 4x4, luxury features include separate heating and ventilation controls for the exceptionally spacious rear compartment. Key features, so the Gear 4x4 is powered by the 2.9 litre EFI V6, choice of a 2 litre EFI, 2.4 EFI or 2.9 EFI for the Granada Gear. So in that ways, I guess you have got more engine choice if you didn't go for the 4x4 version. Moving down, 5-speed gearbox standard on a Gear 4x4, auto transmission standard with Gear's 2.9 litre engine, optional with other power units. Luxurious cut panel carpet trimmed, storage bins on front doors, extended centre console with coin rack and large trinket tray, cigar lighters front and rear, luxury. Multifunction digital clock with ambient temperature readouts, armrest, glove box and cassette storage between the front seats, fully adjustable head restraints front and rear, driver's seat equipped with adjustable lumbar support, and also map pockets in the back of the front seats. Instruments include a tachometer and graphic warning module for doors, lights, fluid levels and brake pad wear. Electronic sound system ECU2 with 6 speakers and separate power amplifier, and then group 6 for all the models shown. I think overall, ideally if I had to choose, I think this is the model I would go for. Whether it had a 4x4 or not is by the by. Certainly the Gear model, a Gear Granada, would have been the model I would have chosen. That also includes the Scorpios. I don't think I would have gone up to the Scorpios. I think I would have stuck with the Granada Gear. Maybe that's just for sentimental reasons of having that Granada name at the back. Looking inside, looks quite pleasant. Looks like there's more equipment just because we've got this power amplifier. I guess it kind of like fills that gap up nicely. If we just move in further, hopefully that'll tune in, which it does rather nicely, thank you. We can see it certainly looks more the part now. It's got these alloy wheels on this particular example, and of course those front fog lamps always seem to make you feel it's a step above, although I'm sure it wasn't that expensive to throw them on there. And look how it would be badged if you got the 4x4 version. Going on to tell us the Gear 4x4 version of Ford's award-winning Granada rides on wide rim wheels, shod with ultra low profile 205/60 VR tyres that optimise the 4-wheel drive system's phenomenal grip and traction. Electric windows, of course. Fingertip controls conveniently located on the driver's armrest operate the Granada Gear's windows, and door mirrors that are electrically heated and adjusted. The Granada Gear below has optional metallic paint available at extra cost, and by that it's talking about this particular example. Looks like we just got maybe alloy wheels actually. I was going to say maybe they're wheel trims, but they do look like they may well be alloys on this one. Just possibly a different alloy, of course, than the 4x4 version. The seats though always felt like the big step up, didn't they, really, overall for the Gear. Certainly looks a nice place to be, and we've got that rear armrest in there now as well as a bit of a front armrest as well. But I don't know, I think maybe that 2-colour system and sort of nicer fabric certainly made at least you feel like you're going in something a bit nicer. Of course you could go to the Scorpios and get leather, but I would be happier with that. Never been a huge fan of leather seats. So I just looked at the spec levels, just a bit of a clarification. Yeah, the Gear just came with steel wheels, so these are wheel covers. That's a little bit disappointed. You had to move up to the 2.9 litre EFI to actually get, well, the 2.9 EFI, as in the Gear 4x4, to get these alloy wheels. So maybe that might have been the one I would choose just so I could get the alloy wheels, because I don't know about you, but I always think a Gear model, certainly a Granada Gear, should at least get alloy wheels. So just looking at the Granadas, so the L, GL and the Gear, so them just in 3 models badged Granada. Of course they were the Scorpio models, which we'll look at next week. But like I was saying at the start, I think the Granada L was possibly the model to go for if you wasn't too worried about lots of equipment. A 1.8 Granada L under £10,000, £9,625.16. If you did want to move up to a 2 litre, and why not, £10,049. That 2 litre GL would be £10,797.87. What else can we see on there? Oh, that 2.4 EFI is a bit of a jump up though. I think that's making it a little bit expensive. So 2.4 EFI GL, which would have been a nice model, but £12,708.81 is certainly a jump. More expensive, of course, if you went for the Gear. So the 2 litre Gear, £12,671. And the 2.4 EFI Granada Gear, £13,983. So that 2.4 was an expensive engine. I think I might have rather had a 2 litre Gear rather than a 2.4 litre GL. Let me know what you think about that though. The model you really wanted though, that 2.9 EFI 4x4, was silly money really, wasn't it? £17,478.17. As soon as I see that amount, it completely puts me off the 4x4, to be honest with you. That is crazy money. I'm going to say the model for me, even though that Granada L is probably the best value for money, I think I probably would have gone for a Granada GL 2 litre, and possibly just the 08C, just an 08C Granada. £10,797 seems like pretty good value for money indeed. But there is more models, the Scorpios, which we'll have a look at next week. We'll look at the colour range for the Granadas and the Scorpios next week as well. But let me know which Granada you would have chosen. So there we go, the 4 Granadas in March 1987. Interesting to see those prices, and you know, we have to think, in today's money it's not a bad price, is it, for the size of the car, but back in 1987 that's a lot of money. When we look at the Scorpios, spoiler alert, we're going over £20,000 in 1987. That is big money. The value really was as a second-hand motor, where you could be picked up relatively cheap, of course. But thank you so much for watching today. Next week, of course, Scorpios. We'll look at the colours. We'll have a look at some more of the specifications, I think, as well. But if you've got any specific questions about Granadas and Scorpios at this time, we can certainly see if we can find those in the specification pages. But thank you so much for watching today. We'll end, as we always do, by saying, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free, helps you find the episodes you want to see, keeps you in touch with the channel as well, and certainly we're growing a really nice, friendly community of car-minded people, which really keeps me going actually more than anything else. We'll end with the Granada L. I still think the Granada L in 2 litre L form was probably the right model at the right price. Bargain basement territories, you can tell your friends you've got a Granada. Don't even tell them you've got the L version, just say you've got a 2 litre. A big car for the money is what I'm thinking. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do take care. Remember to join us next week for Scorpio. All the best. Please do take care, and we'll see you very soon. Merry Christmas and goodbye.